Hello everyone, thank you for coming back to my channel, and for today's video I would like to ask the question: will our nation be torn apart with the Najib House Arrest issue? Now, if we were to look at how a nation progresses or how a nation works, first there is a trust between people of all races, of all religion, and of all cultures. This is why we become a nation. A nation is simply a family of different people, different tribes, much like a marriage, a man and a woman, a man from a different family and a woman from a different family. So they come together, it's called a marriage. But for a nation, it's comprising of different people who happens to be in the certain place of which in the history as well as some events that occur. And so they've decided to be together and to call themselves a nation, which is what we are in one sense in Malaysia. Then there must be trust between the citizens and the political leaders. So we form a nation. We have a system called a democracy or a parliamentary democracy with the royalty as part of it also. Demokrasi berperlembagaan with the idea that the constitution rules, the constitution being made not only by the people but also having discussed with the royalty, because the royalty is from the history of our past. We cannot do anything about it because that is part and parcel of who this country is at the moment. Now, thirdly, there must be faith between a constitution valid for all. As I said, so once we have established this, the politics or the politicians and the leaders will form a constitution, then that becomes a binding document to us all, regardless. Now, if this trust do not exist or is lost, then can we call ourselves and consider ourselves a nation of Malaysia? Now, this is the most important question. We can talk about the house arrest this way or that way, but we must realize that at the end of the day, if we lose trust with each other and with the political system, then it's difficult to move as a nation anymore. And if we mistrust everything and everyone, how do we actually move forward? Now let's recall back. What are the two legal positions of the Najib House Arrest? The two legal positions are: one is that the Agong must act in accordance with the advice of the Pardons Board, and therefore his power in this case as defined by the Constitution is not absolute. This is a position by some very learned lawyers that I know myself and highly respect. Secondly, the Pardons Board with the Agong has no business granting such thing as a house arrest. Why? Simply because there's no such thing as a house arrest. We don't have that system. It's only presently where the Home Ministry is going to introduce this bill about the house arrest, who are entitled to it and things like that. But at the moment, there is none, and therefore, how can there be something to be ordered or decreed when there is none? Now, the other group of legal experts stipulate that the Agong's power in pardoning cases is absolute and unquestioned, meaning that the Pardons Board is acting more of like a secretarial work, and the Agong can overrule or can take his own positions and can basically declare someone to be pardoned, whichever he thinks should be done so. So if the Agong wants to grant a house arrest, then it must be done as dictated to the letter, with or without the consent of the other members of the Pardons Board. So that is one other view of the legal expert. Now, regardless of those two views, what are the consequences of allowing or disallowing the Najib House Arrest? Okay, let's look. First of all, if the house arrest is allowed, let's say the court sit and discuss, and then they say, okay, the house arrest is valid, therefore Najib is granted. So what will happen? Now, if the Najib House Arrest is granted, so many Malaysians will feel slighted, and the main question is that there is a privileged class of people not defined by the Constitution. So this is a very difficult position. because then people will say, oh, it's okay for you to rob, and then as long as you are close to the royals, and then you can easily get pardoned. So this is some sort of an encouragement to the politicians to steal as much as they want. This will result in the loss of trust and faith in the constitution itself, meaning that if the people have lost faith in the constitution, uh, then then it's difficult for us to be confident about who we are in this country. The people will also lose trust with the unity government because it will be seen as being part of this conspiracy to let Najib go, and in GE16 they'll definitely not be voted, and this will cause some other party which may be worse than this to come about. Finally, there is a loss of trust between mostly Malays and mostly non-Malays, regardless of political affiliation, simply because the person in question is Malay and also a leader of a very large group of a political party. But then it's also seemed to be supported by other political parties which are also comprising of Malays. So we're looking at Malay en bloc in one sense. And then this sets up a Malay non-Malay situation. So if the house arrest is allowed, that situation of mistrust between races may come about. Now, what happens if the house arrest is denied? It is something that I myself may not imagine. If it is denied, then perhaps UMNO might be forced to pull out of the unity government. And if UMNO pulls out, there may then be an election, because with only a few percent majority, it is a very unstable situation. It is better to call for an election, even though there are 4 or 5 majority. But this can easily be bought anytime, and no one is going to invest in this country with this kind of instability. So after the election, perhaps the PN may win, and perhaps they will put up a prime minister which I deem to be a puppet prime minister from UMNO. Even though now we see PAS is trying to put up their candidate. Bersatu always said it's Muhyiddin, but now PAS is smelling a victory, so they are putting up theirs. Well, it could be from PAS, it could be from Bersatu, I don't think so, but I think it will be from UMNO. Now, if the house arrest is denied also, then what of the position of the Agong who had commanded it? Now that is the trickiest question of all. If it is not denied, then people will say that the Agong really know what is the constitution. But for me, I think the Agong well versed in the constitution. It's just a matter of interpretation. Group of lawyers interpret this way, another group interpret another way. It is about the vagueness of the constitution. So in the next election, if we want to change, we need a 2/3 majority to change the constitution to the point that there is no vagueness about what kind of pardons to be allowed, and what kind of power that the Agong can actually have in regards to this matter. Or if the house arrest is denied, what about UMNO and PN calling derhaka to the unity government and anyone else who support and celebrate the idea that the house arrest is denied? I say the Malaysian people, most of it non-Malays, they say, good, this is very fair, and Najib does not have house arrest. But remember, by not granting the house arrest, then we are in one sense going against the decree of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, which is the one before, and that can signal a situation of a group of Malays, or many groups of Malays, to say, well, then this is a derhaka, and what do we do then in a situation of that sort? So in both scenarios of allowing and also denying house arrest will lead to the same conclusion. What is the conclusion? That there is a loss of trust between the people of different races and religion of each other. This is a tragedy. It's not a tragedy that Najib gets off from prison and lives in a comfortable house. That's not the tragedy. It is the tragedy when we lose faith with each other. It is a worse tragedy when the people lose faith with the constitution, with the political authorities. Then we have chaos, we have anarchy, we have a situation when nothing will grow in this country if that were to happen. So what is the best position for all of us in this regard? It is, to me, as I said before, that we should leave the matter to the courts, let them battle it out, let the legal people do their work, and whatever outcome, whether the house arrest is valid or is declared not valid, we need to be very strategic, and we need to be very patient, and we need to be very calm, and we need to still trust the system. Because it is a simple thing of, okay, well, if we do not like the constitution, then we must come out to vote very strongly for the political party that will have a two-thirds majority and change the constitution so that it becomes much clearer. This matter is no longer part of a simple democracy or popular votes deciding the outcome. I've seen some people doing surveys. I've seen people coming out with opinion polls. How many people agree with this? And I don't think this is a very useful thing, and it could be a destructive element in our society. I think it is better, and it is very clear for me, tactically, strategically, that we leave it to the courts. And if we do not accept the courts, then it will be very difficult for us to proceed. Yes, there are some bad things that we have to live with, maybe quite a number. It's no different than in life. Life is just like that. We have things that not are bad, but there are things that we do not really like very much. But then that's how life throws at us, and actually this is how we meet it and how we work with it or around it, and also have to grow with it. With that, thank you very much. Hi everybody. If you would like to own my book and have my signature as well as a personal note from me, please follow the instruction. Thank you.